Hello and welcome to 5 Year Club video number 159. Summer edition, super heat edition. I had some trouble over the weekend. Not really trouble, just annoyance because, it's San Jose and it got to be up to 90 degrees both Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, my condo was cool enough at the beginning of Saturday that I could kind of shut everything up, and it stayed below 80 degrees in the condo for the whole day. But Saturday night, it didn't get cold enough inside the condo so that Sunday, when it got up to 90 degrees, the condo was getting into the mid 80s or so, which is not comfortable. And that's when I start being tempted to use the air conditioning, which costs a lot of money, especially if you're running it during peak hours, 2 p.m., 7 p.m. And that has me thinking about air conditioning strategies for the summer, because I know it's going to get really hot. It's a very common thing. In fact, one thing that happens in my condo is the sun comes down and hits cars on the parking lot, and it hits their windshield at exactly the right angle for the windshields to reflect that light into my kitchen window, my double kitchen window thing. And that is by far the biggest source of heat in the summer for my condo. Is like I'm trying to, if you saw like the Death Star and like you saw all the lasers come together into a central beam, and then the central beam goes into my kitchen window. That's actually what happens. That's how bad it is. It's just between the hours of 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. it's like the full Death Star beam coming in through that window and heating up my condo. I have actually like a double curtain set up there, but it's not enough. And so that got me thinking today, how can I decrease the rise in temperature? And they have on Amazon, if you look, they have these plastic Mylar sheets with like 30% reflectivity, which not only gives you some privacy, but also decreases the amount of light and heat that are coming in. And what I learned from my research online is that if you clean up the window, and then you have this Mylar sheet and you spray the inside with water, and then you spray the window with water, then you can attach to the window and use a squeegee to rub it until it's even on the outside of the window. And then you can just take like a knife or a razor around the edge, cut off the extra Mylar, and then you have a tinted window. And this could significantly help me, especially because I have double pane windows, and having an air barrier in addition to the Mylar really keeps the heat out. And so I just wanted to pass that on to anybody who's like, I don't want to spend as much on air conditioning this summer. These Mylar sheets are not that expensive compared to an air conditioning bill. And so I think it's worth it. Second thing, and this is something that I tried to do a little research on, but didn't make a lot of progress with. My air conditioning is from 1987, so almost for sure there have been more efficient air conditioners produced since then, but I don't have a good measure yet of how much more efficient or how much cooler they would make things, or what brand, or if it's worth it for me to replace it. So if anybody listening to this video knows anything about air conditioning or has an opinion on it, please leave a comment and tell me something about if I should replace this super ancient air conditioning from 1987. I guess it's about 30 years old. Yeah. It's only 3 years younger than me. Oh no. And next topic. Today's actually going to be pretty brief. Apple's WWDC, their Worldwide Developer Conference, had its keynote today. And what I noticed, at least this is what I noticed throughout it, is that they had a lot of consumption built into that keynote just as like background noise. So one feature they were talking about was called Shortcuts, where the phone would automatically send you reminders about things using machine learning. And the example they gave was that if the phone knew that you ordered coffee every morning, then it would suggest that you order coffee in the morning. So you wouldn't even have to open the app. It would just appear as a notification, like buy more coffee, spend more money. And they had $5.50, I believe, is the price for Phil's coffee. And I was like, how horrible is that? Your phone is encouraging you every morning to spend $5.50 on coffee. And later in the keynote, one of the people was wearing an Apple Watch, a ceramic Apple Watch to the tune of, $1,300 at least. And that's just kind of built into the fabric of the presentation. Another person in the keynote was talking about how she was looking forward to her vacation to LA after WWDC. And the feature that she was showing off was that her phone would automatically turn off all of her smart home appliances, which she had several of, and adjust her air conditioning. And I think the Nest, the Nest is one of those thermostats that will automatically do a lot of this stuff. It's like $250 for a thermostat. And later in the presentation, they talked about a new emoji, and the emoji was called a Memoji. So you would design a cartoon that looks like you, and they were able to overlay it onto your own face using augmented reality technology. So you could take a selfie of you with a cartoon face that looks like you on top of your face, and because of fancy technology in the phone, they can like match your lip movements and things. And this is why the phone's $1,000, is so that you can put a cartoon face over your face that talks like your face. Wow. Another feature they talked about was the Apple Watch was now going to be able to be used as a student ID card, including the ability to spend money with it, this university cash that they have. And all of these things built in, they're all kind of convenience spending. And it's assumed consumption throughout the whole process. And for sure, a lot of these Apple execs, I think, are worth tens or hundreds of millions. So they're kind of on cloud nine when it comes to normal people spending or finance. But let's give this a different perspective, right? You just take that phone, $1,000, take that watch, $1,300, you're at $2,300. Now let's look at somebody in Vietnam, right? The average wage in Vietnam is $150 a month. Over the course of a year, that's $1,800. So just two of those things I've mentioned, the phone and the watch together, are more than an average person in Vietnam makes an entire year. And, it's just assumed in the presentation. And that got me thinking about, how much have I spent this year? And the average is something in the neighborhood of an average of around $1,800 a month. And so I'm spending about the same in a month as someone in Vietnam, an average person in Vietnam, spends in a year. Which means I spend about 12 times what they spend. An entire order of magnitude. And I can't complain about my life. I can't say I'm not getting my money's worth. I guess I just look at that and I think, that's enough. I don't need to spend more than 12 times what someone else is spending. So that's a little perspective on it. I don't expect everyone to be like, wow, I believe this super hardcore. I just think it's useful for us to see things in a different light. And I know a lot of people watching WWDC, looking at the cool new software features and stuff, they're not thinking about it in terms of comparing the assumed spending in that presentation to what hundreds of millions of people on Earth are spending every year. But yeah, it's a fact. Like, Apple is a luxury company. And a lot of that stuff that they're talking about is not really in the realm of normal spending. It's in the realm of luxury spending by a very small percentage of the population. And that brings us to the end of 5-Year Club video number 159. It's going to be a brief video reminding you, think a bit how to get your air conditioning bill down this summer. Put some brain cells into that. You can certainly save some money. And keep things in perspective when you see people talk about products. I think the other thing that struck me about is that a lot of these new features on the phone had to do with making consumption easier, not really improving someone's life in a substantial way or improving any kind of meaningful efficiency. It was just a feature that would let you pay somebody else money more easily. But the final thing I wanted to leave you with, which, as I've said many times before, the reason why I want to do these videos every day is to keep you in a culture of savings and to provide you and put resources in front of you that you wouldn't otherwise see, perhaps. One of my friends sent me this article today, and I was very happy about it. And what it is it's like 20 biases that influence whether or not people become wealthy. The example he starts out with is a secretary who died and left $7 million versus, a Harvard graduate executive who filed for bankruptcy. And the point he makes is that the Harvard graduate had every educational advantage, and yet he failed miserably when it comes to money compared with the secretary. And that's because money is about behavior, not education or pedigree or training. But I want to let the article speak for itself because I think it's an excellent article. I've said before on this channel that success with money is 80 to 90% behavior, 10 to 20% knowledge. And I think that the reason why I like this article so much is that these 20 points he makes are psychological biases that really influence behavior. They're not tips on how to save money on the tax side of things. They're things that we do that hurt us that a lot of times we don't recognize up front are happening. But I guarantee if you read this article, you're going to recognize them in yourself. So if you do, one thing this week for yourself financially, read this article. It's an excellent article, and it will help you to identify choices that you've made or choices that you could make in the future that you're not thinking clearly about and you're not thinking straight about. So yeah, I'm going to put it in the video description so it's easy to click through and read. Set it to your phone's homepage. Open it up on your phone, email it to yourself, whatever you have to do to read it. Post it on Facebook, who cares? It's a great read. And I don't find that many of them these days in terms of online articles. A lot of the online articles I see are either rehashes of stuff that's been done a million times or really crappy stuff from CNN that just doesn't even make sense. This one's a gem, though. This is really good. I was impressed. All right. That is it for 5 Year Club video number 159. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a fabulous evening. Good night.